thanks for coming to join our Teach in Australia Permanent Opportunities webinar on this Wednesday evening, wherever you may be. I know we'll have a few more people probably join in the next couple of minutes, so I'll slowly jump into things and we'll go from there just so we can get started and hopefully get things wrapped up before it gets too late. I'm gonna do a super quick meet the team. We are spoiled tonight with quite a few of our ANZ UK members from across Canada as well as Australia. So I'll do a quick intro of who we've got on the call. I'll let them talk a bit more about themselves and their areas of expertise. From the New South Wales team, I believe we've got Callum, who's going to be joining us, who is one of the regional managers, and we also have Ellen here, who is one of our newest international arrivals consultant. We have Hannah from our Victoria's team. She is one of the team leads on the Victoria Permanent Opportunities team. And from our Queensland office, we have Daniel, who is a senior consultant on the Queensland Permanent Opportunities team, and Heidi, also a senior consultant who helps with the regional Queensland and Northern Territory opportunities. And then over on the North American side, I'm joined by my colleague Olivia, who's the North American recruitment manager for Canada and the US. And then I'm Victoria. I am located here just outside of Toronto for those who are local. I am the Global Opportunities Consultant on the Canadian team here, meaning that I help all of our North American educators at the beginning of their journey to actually go over to Australia, whether that is for short-term or a lifelong move. I'm an Ontario-based teacher myself, and I went and taught over in Melbourne back in 2023 and absolutely loved it, had a phenomenal time, and now am so lucky to get to do this for everyone else. Olivia is posting in the chat here. If you do have questions as we go, feel free to put them in. Like I said, we're lucky to have several of our team members on today to try and help answer. I will also send out an email after this with the recording of this webinar, as well as some more resources for you to check out. And Olivia or myself are happy to set up a one-on-one call to go over any questions that you might have. All right, we're going to be just going over a plethora of different things today. We'll be going over the different visa options for North Americans to be able to actually get working rights in Australia, as well as what you'll need for your teaching qualifications, and then the different types of work that we have available in our various locations. We'll also be going over the kind of 360-degree support that ANZ UK is here to deliver, from when you're doing this initial questions of how can I do this all the way through actually landing the right role for you in Australia. All right. Hopefully most of you have either talked to someone or know who we are, or if we've just popped up on your Facebook or Instagram. Thanks for joining us. ANZ UK has been running for over 20 years now, helping both local and global educators go and teach and travel in a new geography. So we were founded back in 2004. We now have over 300 staff globally and 21 offices, including those in Australia, like I mentioned, but we also operate in the UK, in New Zealand, and our office here in Canada. Again, I'm sure if you're here, I don't need to be answering the question of why teach abroad. We always say, why not teach abroad? It's such a phenomenal opportunity. Whether you're looking for a short-term experience for 1 year abroad or you're looking to make a lifelong move, it's an incredible way to push yourself personally, develop your career, and gain some great life experience. For personal growth, to step out of your comfort zone, develop more cultural awareness. Going from Canada to Australia is always an interesting one because it's so different. It's so far, but it's so similar in all of the best ways. But can develop cultural awareness, learn about a new place, experience living in a new country. Overseas teaching is also regarded very highly. Canadian teachers are highly sought after in Australia as well because of our background, our education. It can also be very financially rewarding. and of course the life experience, getting the travel opportunities. Australia is a phenomenal country, but of course so far away. So to be able to get to go live there, explore the surrounding countries, meet other educators, meet other expats, and grow personally there. All right, we will jump right into it. So, an important thing to note is ANZUK supports a range of educators, whether that is teachers, teaching assistants, or early childhood educators. And there's different requirements for every kind of role. Tonight, we'll be mainly focusing on classroom teachers, so primary, which would be from kindergarten, which they call prep, all the way through year 12. The requirements are going to vary state by state. Each state has their own teaching licensing boards with a different process as to how you get your Canadian qualifications or your North American qualifications transferred over. But the kind of baseline for being able to teach over there is that you need to have completed at least 4 years of full-time or equivalent higher education study. At least one of those years needs to be an approved initial primary or secondary teaching qualification. And with that, you need to have a minimum of 45 days of supervised practicum in either a primary or secondary placement. So for those teachers coming from Canada, typically if you have a Bachelor of Education and your bachelor's behind that, or you went through a concurrent education program, you're likely going to meet the requirements. If you are coming from another country or you did your qualifications in a different way, you do need to check with the teaching licensing board to ensure that your qualifications will meet what they're looking for. All right. Now, the biggest question is how to actually get to Australia. What do you need? So, of course, you need to be able to teach there. You need your teaching license, but you'll also need to be granted a visa with working rights. We sadly are not immigration officials. We're not migration agents, so we can't specifically recommend or answer specific questions about your visa eligibility or everything like that. The information is all on the Australian government website, but we can talk a bit more about typical visas that we work with, and if you'll be eligible for those there. Now, the kind of easiest visa to get if you are eligible is a working holiday visa. That is what I went to Australia on. The working holiday visa is available for people aged 18 to 30, up to 35 in some countries. So the 462 is going to be for US citizens, and that's only to 30, inclusive of your 30th year. So if you haven't turned 31 yet, it's not too late. The 417 for Canadians, and that goes all the way up to 35, again, inclusive of that 35th year. This visa gives you 1 year of working rights. There is a maximum of 6 months with one employer. We can explore that a little bit more if you're interested in this visa. It can be extended for up to 2 years. Again, we're happy to chat with that. This is a phenomenal visa if you are looking for casual employment, but it can also be converted over to more long-term visas as well. So if you are within the age range and you don't have dependents that will be coming over with you, this is a great way to get into Australia, even if you know you want to stay long-term, to be able to test out the waters, see how you like it, explore the areas, get to know the schools. This is a phenomenal way to get to Australia and then work on some other visa options later. This visa isn't perfect for everyone. Obviously, it's got some lower age limits, and if you have dependents, you're not able to bring them over on a working holiday visa. If that is the case, the best visa for you is the skilled worker visa. Now, there's a few different skilled worker visas that change depending on if they are state specific or countrywide, the 189, 190, and 491, for example, and they're open to specific professions. So currently, Australia is bringing in skilled workers for both primary and secondary teachers. This visa is fantastic because it grants you full working rights and you can choose where you work. So you'd be able to be employed by any school just like a local Australian would. Depending on, again, if that's state specific, you'll have to work within the state that you applied for. There's also pathways to permanent residency and citizenship for this one. So you do need to be under 45 to apply for this, But if you're able to get this one, there are pathways that you're able to stay in Australia long term. So if you are looking to move over there for the foreseeable future, forever with your family, or if you're beyond that age limit, this really is the best visa to open up your work options. There are higher costs, and it is currently a longer wait time. You can be looking close to a year, depending on. Again, I'll send out in the email some more information about these skilled worker visas, but if you are determined to move to Australia, without a doubt, this is the best visa option for you, just to keep open some availability, and keep your options open for schools you're going into. I am going to pass it over to Hannah to talk a bit more about the temporary skills shortage visa and then opportunities in Victoria as well.
Yes, the 482 sponsorship visa can be a really sort of highly sought after visa. And I'll talk a little bit later on about opportunities in Victoria specifically that we have with programs where you may be able to sort of consider this visa down the track. But to give you a little bit of a background, it is a temporary skills shortage visa. So therefore, to be considered for this visa, your skill or your vocation has to be listed. And we sort of have primary, secondary, and special needs education listed on that skills shortage at the moment. So all of those tick the boxes there. As you can see there, you require 1 year of full-time teaching experience to be eligible for this visa. That's recently changed and has decreased, so now 1 year can get you across the line there. And the visa usually is granted for either a 2-year or a 4-year period. Most commonly, the primary skills shortage visa is the 2-year option, whereas the secondary and the special education is the 4-year option. It does have a potential pathway through to permanent residency as well. And the only thing to note with this one is that it would be tied to the employer or the company there that is sponsoring you as well. So if we move on to talking a little bit more specifically about Victoria, as you can see here, we support a variety of teaching opportunities. I've mentioned primary, secondary, and special education, but also, as Victoria spoke earlier, about early childhood as well. The roles that we cover run from teaching assistant roles, teaching roles, right through to leadership and executive roles as well, if that's something that is of interest for you. We support on contract and permanent, so anything from 1 term to a semester through to ongoing roles, as well as what they call casual relief teaching in Australia. So that's sort of day-to-day and shorter term blocks, if that's more what you're after as well. We're a team of 16 that work in Melbourne. We've got 4 of us that work specifically for regional Victoria. If you're wanting to look at something, in those outer city suburbs or a little bit further out, and then the rest of the team work on sort of inner city Melbourne and more metro Melbourne. And you'll see our little QR code there to your right. You're welcome to scan that, which will take you to a Facebook page where you can get a little bit of insight on some of the roles and the landscape in regional Victoria at the moment, if that's of interest. There are some incentives on offer through government schools, and I'll touch on that in a little bit as well in terms of programs for the 482 visa, if that's something that you'd like to learn a little bit more about. And like it mentions there as well, we do have quite a lot of opportunities, as you are quite sought after as Canadians, where schools are really willing to interview you before you head over to Australia, if you're after that peace of mind of having something secured as well. Important to note there too, we've got one coming up. We usually run, particularly for Victorian educators, a good couple of events twice a year where we all come together, we have some food and drinks and do a bit of networking. So it gives you an opportunity to be able to meet some other educators in the area if you're looking to meet some new people. So I'll talk to you a little bit about registering in Victoria. I know we've touched on that a little bit already. The governing body for the state of Victoria is called the Victorian Institute of Teaching. It's great because it can be done before you arrive into Australia. Like it says there, it takes between 8 and 12 weeks at a cost of about $167. that processing time can be minimized, and it can also then go the other way depending on if you sort of get all your documentation in and tick all of those boxes first of all. So I'd always recommend you double checking when you're going through that process to minimize your processing time as well. And like it says there, we do have guides to help support you through that process, so feel free to reach out to us and we can offer our support and answer any questions that you might have specific to registering with the Victorian Institute of Teachers. All right, and I believe next we're going to talk a little bit about relocation incentives. This is a big one that's sort of doing the rounds at the moment. We are working on a program that does offer opportunities for that previously mentioned 482 sponsorship visa. This is a program that is in collaboration with the Department of Education, where there are certain government schools that have had approval to be able to register overseas educators making their way to Australia. Two great things. You get access to the 482 visa being the first, but second, there is also financial relocation incentives. So as detailed there, you've got $10,000 for an individual, $15,000 for a couple, and then $20,000 for a family to go toward your relocation expenses as well. Just noting there, it's been a really popular and really successful program. In 2024, we had 57 teachers come over, and we've kicked off, I think we've had another about 15 so far for 2025. So hoping to see that increase as the year goes on and bring a few more people over. We are due to get some decisions on the renewed funding in a couple of months' time, probably around that July 2025 mark. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out and we can chat with you a little bit further about that. I think I'm now going to pass over and we're going to move to chatting a little bit about New South Wales.
Perfect. Awesome. I just realized actually too, I am missing the Australian school year calendar from this presentation. So I apologize for that oversight. But for those who don't know, the Australian school year is scheduled quite different to our Canadian school year. So they actually run with the calendar year, starting their year at the end of January and running in 4 terms through to the end of December. So when they go off for what would be the Christmas holidays here is their summer holidays there. So it looks very, very different than our traditional Canadian school year running September through June, but I will make sure to include a calendar there. It does also mean for a lot of these opportunities when we are looking to bring educators over, if it's for the beginning of the school year, that would likely be a January start. There are always opportunities kind of throughout if you are arriving on a working holiday visa or a skilled worker visa. Sometime throughout the year, absolutely, we can still work together. But for a lot of the sponsorship opportunities, we are looking for a January 2026 arrival with the beginning of the school year. Awesome. Callum, I think you are around here if you want to jump on and chat a little bit about the opportunities in New South Wales.
I am, thank you. Yeah, we're actually on school holidays now, so ours is 4 terms and roughly around 10 weeks per term. So in New South Wales, so we have our early childhood division. We also offer work for primary teachers, secondary teachers, and special needs. We've also got an executive or leadership team, so head of departments, pastoral roles, right up to principals as well. I work in Sydney, but we've also got a regional team. We've got 3 consultants now in regional New South Wales. Sponsorship, unfortunately, we don't have the great program that Victoria does. So a lot of teachers, to get sponsored, they'll likely come over on a working holiday visa. They'll be in a school and then that school will sponsor them. We've got casual relief teaching, across all the divisions of early childhood, primary, secondary, SEN. I'll work a bit more on the contract and permanent team. We also, similar to Victoria, have educator events twice a year as well, where we bring everyone together, connect people, and they're really, really good fun actually. And our registration in New South Wales, it's called NESA, so New South Wales Education Standards Authority. A little bit different to other states. It can only be done once you're here. It can be looked at as a positive. You don't need to worry about it when you're overseas, but you can't start work straight away because you need to get your NESA. That means the reason for that is you need to get your working with children's check. It costs $80 and you just need to go into a centre, have proof of ID essentially. That cap costs $80. It roughly takes 2 to 5 days. I actually got my volunteer one last week and it came back within a couple of hours. So once you get your working with children's check, you're able to apply for your NESA registration. That takes roughly 2 to 4 weeks and it's $100 a year. And once you get your NESA registration, you also have to be able to teach in our government schools or Department of Education schools. You need to get your department registration as well, which takes around 5 days. But there's a link there for more information.
Perfect. Thanks, Callum.
Thanks.
All right. Daniel, I'll pass it over to you if you want to chat a bit about Queensland and the opportunities up there.
Yeah, thanks, Victoria. So yeah, up in Queensland, we do quite a lot of work in the permanent and contract space for secondary and primary schools. We also have a division in early childhood where you can actually do some of that day-to-day casual relief teaching. But as of now, unfortunately, we aren't able to offer up that day-to-day relief teaching within the secondary and primary space. We also have a permanent team focused on the early childhood education sector and obviously within primary and secondary. We have a team of about 7 with different consultants specialising in different areas of Greater Brisbane and rural Queensland, one of which is a specialist consultant in executive roles. So we are able to offer anything up between teaching assistants through to teachers, heads of departments, and even principals. We are really growing out in the regional space. So there's some amazing opportunities up around Cairns, Townsville, and other lovely areas outside of Brisbane. In terms of getting to the Sunshine Coast or the Gold Coast, it's very attractive, but it's also extremely competitive. We are able to essentially put you in a spot around Brisbane, which makes it very easy to get up to the Sunshine Coast or down to the Gold Coast. So that's something to think about there. Our Brisbane office is located in Fortitude Valley, where we hold a lot of our educator events. So we have a Christmas in July and then Christmas in December, where lots of food, a few drinks, and lots of networking, and they are very fun. Brisbane. Great public transport. We're developing a lot of different TransLink systems, so that's actually going to be a lot better in the near future as well. Cool. So with registering in Queensland, we have the Queensland College of Teachers, which actually can be done online before your arrival to Australia. I would say before you spend $300 attaining that, probably go through your visa situation first to actually make sure that you can get into Australia, just because they're quite known to hand out registrations for people who just fit the bill and actually tick the boxes, but it's worth considering your visa requirements before doing that. It can take 2 to 4 weeks, cost $305 and $100 to annually renew. I'd give yourself a little bit longer than 2 to 4 weeks, as they can have some very hectic periods around Christmas time and mid-year where there are a lot of applications. And obviously you can get in touch with us if you need a guide on how to apply for these.
Thank you. All right, I'll pass it off one more time. Heidi, if you want to talk about opportunities up in the Northern Territory. I think you're still just on mute there.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you. Victoria, Northern Territory, great start again. Sorry, a bit nervous. Northern Territory is a great state. It has great incentives most of which can include accommodation, also incentives with regard to if you're in remote schools, you'll get extra allowance because you're in a remote school. Northern Territory offers permanent and contract roles for both primary and secondary. There is also opportunities to go executive roles and leadership roles. There is a great pathway to that opportunity. There is Northern Territory also offers fantastic growing space for teachers with regard to regional opportunities and great development with your career. Lifestyle and adventure is fantastic, fantastic food, great communities. The population of Northern Territory is 49% of the students in Northern Territory have a language background other than English. And Northern Territory is divided into two regions, urban and remote. And there is a fantastic community connection with regard to, for example, in remote areas, some schools will only have approximately 40 students. Registering in the Northern Territory, it is done through the Teacher Registration Board, and this can be done whilst overseas. You also will need to obtain what they call a OCRA card, which is done through Safe Northern Territory. This can take 3 to 12 weeks at a cost of $81. But when you're registering with Northern Territory, when you complete the form, it does have on the form a direction to go and register for your child protection registration, your children check. Now, teacher registration in Northern Territory can take up to 10 weeks, and the application fee is $161 with an annual fee of approximately $105 a year. Teacher registration, for example, with some countries as New Zealand, they do offer mutual recognition. In Canada and America, etc., we'll need to go through the normal course of registration. There is also support around state registrations. For example, if you come over on a working holiday visa and your first point of call might be Victoria, where you receive the Victorian teacher registration, you can also then jump to Northern Territory with regard to teacher mutual recognition, which is an easier pathway as well to obtaining teacher registration in Northern Territory.
Amazing. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Perfect. I will quickly go over the remaining Western Australia and South Australia as well. We don't have any team members from there joining us tonight. In Western Australia, we do also have the relief teaching for ECE. They're also working on permanent roles for ECE, primary, secondary, as well as special education needs, again, in Metro Perth and regional opportunities. We are also actively breaking into the market there for some shorter term roles as well. So if you have your heart set on WA, we're absolutely still happy to chat with you about the opportunities there. The office there is in Osborne Park, and again, they are going to have educator events there as well. One of the really important things for us here is making sure that we are building community and connection. So you'll find this is a similarity across all of our offices. And finally, Southern Australia, again, there is the relief work in the early childhood sector, permanent opportunities for EC, primary, secondary, special education needs, leadership and executive roles. And we do have a newly-ish opened office there in Adelaide. Wonderful. I'll go through our work options. I am seeing quite a few questions coming in, so thank you to everyone who's asking. Obviously, this is a lot of information with both the visa and the different state options. One important thing to know is that these are their own governing bodies. So the Australian government deciding on the visa options, the boards of education deciding on their qualification requirements. So like I said, we will send out some more information, but you can always look on the official websites to see if you would be eligible for visas or if you would be eligible for the teaching qualification as well. If you are coming over on either a skilled visa or a working holiday visa, a great way to start your time in Australia is through working as a CRT, which is a casual relief teacher, also known as like a supply teacher or a substitute teacher for those here in North America. The starting daily rate is going to change depending on where you are, but looking at a starting lowest of around 400 Australian per day. If you are in the ECE space, be looking at around 317. In Melbourne, we are lucky enough to have a guaranteed ambassador program, meaning during our busy times, you can guarantee 5 days a week of work. We have our own app to help manage the different roles that you'll be going to. It's a phenomenal way to build relationships and network with different schools, whether you know this is a short-term role or you want to get to know the different schools, get to see the different communities around the city. It's a really great way to experience a range of schools and get to learn and be there that way. Obviously, it brings a lot more flexibility and a lighter workload with not the additional planning and marking that comes with teaching, and you can experience a range of settings and diversify your experience. And then, of course, we have the permanent roles, which it sounds like most people are here for. This would be an employment contract direct with a school that we will help set up. You would have support within your team and department. The great thing with this, as we know as teachers, is consistency leads to behavior improvements. You'll know where you're going every day. You can help develop your career, implement your own systems, plan your lessons, and be part of the school's professional development. For some of these roles, there can be interviews organized prior via Zoom. Again, if you are able to be on the ground in Australia, whether that's during that skilled visa or working holiday visa, that definitely helps you as well. And we can help offer CV and interview support. Okay. I will jump into kind of some of our most common questions about actually making the move and living in Australia and the biggest differences there. Probably the most common question I get asked is about finding somewhere to live. How do you do that from overseas? Obviously, this is going to change and depend on where you're going and if you are coming alone or if you are bringing a family with you. But what we recommend doing is finding a temporary accommodation, whether that's a hostel, sublet, Airbnb, and looking for the right place in person. The great thing with our team here is while we will help you from the Canadian side, you do also have a local consultant on the ground in the city you'll be moving to, and they are happy to help suggest the best neighborhoods to be living in, where to be looking for accommodation, and how to go from there. If you are looking in the metro areas, so Metro Melbourne, Metro Sydney, I would imagine Brisbane as well, places can move quickly, so you need to act quickly and make sure you are doing your research. We can absolutely act as a referee for you if you are going into a contract position or if you are on our ambassador guaranteed work program. There are a few Facebook groups and websites there as well. To get around, again, is going to strongly depend on where you end up going. If you are working in the metro areas, whether that's Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane, there's phenomenal public transportation. If you are going to be working in one of the regional areas, a car is likely going to be needed, unless you are living right next to where you're going, but ideally a car would be needed. And then, of course, biking and by foot. Again, depending on where you're living, the weather is going to change. They do have warmer weather year-round, but if you are going down to Melbourne, for example, they do have rainier, colder winters, so potentially by foot or by bike year-round is not ideal. So just keeping these in mind as you are heading over. We do have area guides for all of our different areas, so if you've decided on where you want to go and you want to get a better idea of what the best neighborhoods are, where to look, we can absolutely share that information with you. All right. So the process, how does this whole thing start? You're thinking about teaching in Australia, you have seen a visa that might be a good option for you. Where do you go from here? First step is setting up a call with the North American team. So I did see a comment roll through about if this was only for North Americans. If you are based outside of North America, please just let us know what passport you're holding and we can put you in touch with the right team member. If you are currently living in North America, you'd be chatting with either Olivia or myself. We're happy to set up a call just to find out a bit more about your experience, your education, where you're looking to go, and answer any initial questions that you might have. From there, we will put you in touch with the right person in Australia that's going to be able to help you. So that could be Hannah or Daniel or Heidi, depending on where you're looking to go. They can have a call with you if we are looking for sponsored roles, or if you're coming over on a skilled visa and looking to set up interviews before you arrive, they can assist with that as well. From there, we'll go into the registration and compliance. So making sure that everything that needs to be finished pre-arrival is finished. Some of the teaching boards have windows in which you can apply for. The VIT, for example, you can only apply within a few months of arrival. So making sure that everything is done in an orderly time. From there, we will get you scheduled for an in-office interview with our team. So once you're actually landing, you're in Australia, you'll get to go into the ANZUK office, meet someone that you've likely been acquainted with months prior, do any onboarding and paperwork that needs to be done to actually get started. And then you're cleared for work. You'll have your teaching license ready to go. Your visa will be granted at this point. All of your paperwork is through and cleared, and you are in the classroom. Again, whether this is a short-term role to start out or you are in your permanent role for the foreseeable future, we are still there to support you. We have PD opportunities in our different offices, as well as social events. So if you have just moved to a new country, we can help introduce you to some other global educators who have done the same. All right, we're almost at the end, I promise. Why teach and travel with ANZUK? Like I've said, we are here to support you every step of the way. We want to make sure your journey runs as smoothly as possible. We have support across the globe. So we've got our team in North America here to carry you through everything on this side before passing you off to the Australian team. We have our compliance services. We do have events, as a lot of the teams have touched on, the local events in Australia. We also have pre-departure events here in Canada. So if you are in any of our major cities or close to, we'll be having events this summer to also meet some other educators who are heading abroad. Our technology, our Ready to Work app, allows you to easily manage your availability, book in for PD, upload any certifications, just a really easy management tool for all of our teachers. We also have affiliations with a number of travel groups and sports teams. So we are there to support you if you're looking for a new footy club, netball team, holiday, or tour to help you out with those. Finally, our resources and guides. Actually, pop to the next slide here. We have a range of different resources and guides that we can provide you with before you fly to know what you need to do before leaving North America and also what you'll need to do after you've landed in Australia. These are all of the things that you might not have thought of, including getting your bank account set up, setting up your tax file number so that you can pay for your taxes in Australia, guides on where to live, and so much more. Like I mentioned, community and events is a big part of what we do. We host regular social events both before and after you arrive. We have a Facebook group for all of our educators moving over, as well as events once you are there. Awesome. All right. Thank you to everyone who came. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much to everyone that joined from Australia as well on this Thursday morning. I know we have some questions coming through in the chat. If anyone has additional questions, please feel free to post them in now, and I'm sure we can answer a few of them together. I will be sending out this email as a recording, so keep your eye out for that. Likely tomorrow, if not by Friday. And in that information, we'll have some details as well about the skilled worker visa, if that is the option that you are looking for, as well as how to set up a call with our Canadian team here. I can see, Tal, the question about the 6-month limit is regarding working holiday visas only. It does not apply to the skilled worker or the sponsorship visa. Does someone from the Australian team want to take this requirements for leadership and executive positions? I guess we're looking at principals, administrators. Anyone want to talk about those types of roles?
Jump in.
Thanks, Callum.
It's essentially about the previous experience as well. So if the person has leadership experience overseas as deputy principal, obviously a lot of the skills and knowledge is transferable. And then a lot of especially with like senior leadership, a lot of them will have like masters of leadership like degree as well from university. So additional qualifications.
Amazing. Wonderful. I can see there's a few other ones coming in.
With Tal, you've asked about the working holiday visa. No, you can work essentially 6 months in one school, and then if the school doesn't want to sponsor you or doesn't have the funds to as well, you can essentially go and work 6 months at a school down the road or next door as well. So it just needs to be a different school and different location. You don't have to go to a different state.
And not an issue if you're working in a CRT type role. You can stay working for ANZ UK throughout the entire year, just moving around the schools. Robert, how soon do you need me to sign up? It's totally going to depend on where you're going, what kind of visa you're going on. I would say if you are eager to get to Australia, set up a call sooner rather than later so we can answer some questions. But typically the visa times change. For working holiday visa, there's a fast turnaround time. The skilled worker visa is much longer, typically like a year. Sponsorship visa can be done in 2 to 6 months-ish, but again, likely looking at January 2026 arrivals. Special education sponsorships. Hannah, do you want to talk about the special education types of roles? It's very different to the Canadian and North American school systems. If you want to talk about what that's like. Oh, I can't hear you. It says I still can't hear you. Oh,
You got me?
yep.
All right, I'm back. In Australia, there are specific sort of special education settings that you would work in as a special education teacher. So generally, if you're wanting to consider a position like that, particularly for sponsorship, you'll need to hold at least sort of 1 year's experience in a similar role with special education teaching experience there. There's a few of them on that program that I mentioned earlier with the Department of Education, but we also do then work with independent special education schools as well that may have scope to sponsor as well, as it is a real need and there is a real shortage of special education teachers.
Perfect. I'm seeing a few more come through about opportunities in the UK and New Zealand. Of course, ANZ UK supports those roles. We do have different teams that are going to support each person. So if you're interested in one of those countries, please let us know. We have specific webinars for those as well. As far as a time limit, it really depends on what visa you're coming on and where you're going. There are certain time restrictions, as we mentioned, with getting your teaching registration and how long to get each visa, but it's going to depend on what you're after. The busy seasons for teaching in Melbourne, I would say terms 2 and terms 3 are the busiest times of the year. That's typically, I think we're in the break for term 2, so mid-April through September would be the busiest times of the year. I'm going to see if I can get the school year calendar up here. Perfect. Can we see that? Wonderful. So this is the Australian school year calendar. This is specific for Victoria in 2026. The term dates vary slightly by state, just with different holidays and things. But terms 2 and terms 3 are the busiest times of the year. But again, it depends on what roles you're coming in for. If you are looking for a permanent job, beginning of the school year is obviously a great time to be coming in. If you are coming in as a casual relief teacher, we hire on a rolling basis. In terms 2 and terms 3 would be our busiest times. We don't sponsor to work in Canada, unfortunately. French is a role that is taught. We work with, try this again. We work with a few specific French schools in Melbourne as well. Obviously, it's not as popular as a subject here in Canada as it is in Australia, but there's also not as many French teachers, so it can absolutely be an asset. CRT is in public and independent schools as well. We also work with faith-based institutions as well, so every type of school. I know there's a few coming through questions about specific qualifications. Won't get into those right now, but like I said, you do need the minimum 4 years. One of those years needs to be an initial teacher education program and at least 45 days of supervised teaching in a primary or secondary setting. Even if you've been a teacher for 15 years, and we see this much more for our US-based educator, but even if you've been an educator for 15 years, you still need to have that supervised training, supervised placement from your initial degree. So if you did a various program or if you just have a not education degree, you'll need to check that you're eligible for qualification in the state that you want to work in. I'm going to wrap these up there. I will be sending out the email. Our email's in the chat, ca@anzuk.education. Please keep your eye out for the email from me there. If you don't see it today or tomorrow, please check your junk mail. I promise I will send it, and feel free to reach out to us if you don't see it. Again, thank you so much to our team in Australia for joining us. I really appreciate you all coming out here this morning and spending some time. And thank you to everyone else who came to join. Have a wonderful day, evening, wherever you are.